Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood was Armageddon. And that's right. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. We're here to prove it to you, not to let anyone tell you anything else unless you know. We're here to debate them for you if you don't feel comfortable debating them yourself, because it's always going to be true. RJ, what's up, man? How you doing?
And a good happy evening to all.
I got a email from Victoria, Vicnoid. She sent me an email, and it's all about the year 1712 for Minko and how they added 1,000 years. So I think it'll be a good review. Everybody can rest assured I am caught up on my midterms. Halfway through, the leaves are gold and falling off the trees, and amen, hallelujah. Hey, RJ's got something here. Gonna pull it down. I sent him the world clock today. I don't know if he
But
oh,
does
oh,
that look familiar?
yes it does. Yeah. Is
That,
that is a masterpiece by Salt Paco that was
so I got the
conservatively
feather, and then that
conservatively
that coin purse.
yeah,
Uh,
that's a peacock feather.
yeah, here,
Both of them, I think.
and then
And then the
this is
foot,
gonna
which is
kick
conservatively
the
was
snot out of someone.
insured for $800. What do you think of that? Pretty good, huh?
Yeah,
It's
cute.
amazing. Yep. The Lord is blessed and blessed and blessed.
Yeah, where it
The
stands up on its tippy toe, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, and it looks good when you lay it down on its side too.
Well, I
In
got it
case
up
you're
on its
wondering,
tippy
I
toe.
that is one of my that's an art project by Salt Paco, uh,
Thank you.
legend in his own mind. Let's see some of these videos that you sent me before we look at the one that Victoria sent me. I don't know if there
Well,
are any
well, then
pictures,
you
but
better go with your disclaimer to begin with. Or
I just want to share with people that the blessings of the Lord, are are new every day. The patience. I have long forgot what it was like to have regular faith. My faith is based on two real visions where I felt like, okay, this is a supernatural event, and I know a lot of people never had that, and they read the Bible and they're operating on faith. My faith is on that. I've had that in numerous and I hope somebody can come up with a better word of translate type of situation where bringing out these things that we're going to go over tonight. I've been talking about them for years, and they're not changing, and everything is going to come back around to it because it's the move of God. It's the veil that's lifted. It's the whole mud flood was Armageddon. They added 1,000 years, and we think we know it was September 11th, 2001, 9/11 that started and kicked
that
it
was a
back
big event. Yeah.
to the year 1711, and that's where we're at. That's what I'm going to go over tonight. That's what this is all building up for. That's what this has always been about. I just bit my tongue, RJ. It hurt.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry to hear that. Yeah.
It hurt. Well, not like as bad as gangrene or anything, that hurt too. But
Probably not. Yeah.
so here's that thing that's so cool. No medical advice, financial advice. Here's my financial advice: sell everything and buy every gold coin you can. I'm just kidding. I don't know anything. That's what I used to do, is like buy silver and stuff. Be like, go buy silver. Okay, it's gonna go up to how much? And then finally, how long did they wait for the gold? It's gonna go gold to go to 2,000, and silver was going to be $100 an ounce. Silver's not there yet, but gold is over to 2,400. Crazy, man.
Yeah. I read something about how the market has gone up so much. Well, really, what's happening is that they've devalued the dollar that much. It's all BS. But anyhow, yeah. Not that that's financial advice.
This
That's just
dollar that you talk about,
the
I've
petrodollar.
heard about it, but it's like Bigfoot. Everybody talks about it like it's real, but I've never seen it. What is this dollar and money thing that you talk about? Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't. I have a hard time believing it really exists. Did you know that your car is spying on your sexual activity, your
Well,
immigration
some of
status,
them, some
face?
models
Well,
are
all 25 of the top
capable.
do it, but these are the big ones, and they sell the most, I guess. But they all are doing it, and it's just like, I wonder why they want that. Oh, they make money off it somehow. There is a something in our future about the second high school attached to the Beijing Normal University. That's its ship of three sails. You know how I looked that up, RJ? We were talking about normal schools and that, off the air, we were talking about Sidwell Friends and the famous private Quaker school in Washington, D.C., where all the president's children
Yeah.
go and stuff. They got a sister school in Beijing that's a normal school. And guess what? It looks like a Greek revival.
So is that a
Surprise.
registered logo?
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought, they mention it. It's like, this is our school and that's our logo. They ship up three sales. Their followers, give me a child until it is 7 and I will show you the man. He's talking about the Jesuits. The Jesuits said 7. I don't know, the Nazis said 5. Give me your child when they're 5. But that's what they think. They just want your children. What am I doing? Oh, we have to read these. So when there's a lot of pictures like that, you read the captions. Their followers, give me a child until it is 7 and I will show you the man. That's the 400 years that the Jesuits have told their followers. The creative conscious mind, 95%. So they can control 95% of your mind, I think is what he was saying. And they do that by getting you in the first 7 years. They got us, RJ. They didn't even teach us how to read. So the first 7 years is programming. Then after that, we actually play with, Hey, rods and cones, RJ. I appreciate
Yep.
you sending me that one because I believe that we live on eyeball earth and that this is our dome, first heaven. See this little darker blue or it's lighter blue. Second heaven, third heaven is out here that is all encompassing where Elyon, the most high spirit god lives, or whatever he does. I don't know if you could really call it. He was never like not dead, or he's like there is no like chance of death. So whatever his existence as a spirit is, it's out here.
Wandering around the throne room.
Yeah, you got that. I don't know that moving with the purpose around the throne room and human eyeball cut in half. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's all flipped upside down when it hits the back of our eyeballs, and then the left hand path is not good, but the left hand leads to the right side of the brain. So it's not left-handers. They're not bad. It's really weird. But line upon line and precept upon precept. So here, what this is.
This is the most powerful antenna ever built, thousands and thousands of times stronger than any antenna before, and it can both send and receive cones on a metal plate. Pay attention to that structure. Somehow these guys were using cone technology with
So this guy, Michael Tellinger, I know he's much more famous than I am, but boy, did it revive his career when this theory came out that the Titans were the gold in the mountains. He was all over it. But he knew about Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age past. So did David Icke. So he starts out with a lot of interesting things, but everything he's conjecturing about this pine cone, we don't know what they were doing, and he doesn't either. We don't know that his wristwatch is anything. We know he's not the one from the Lord God Almighty that is lifting the veil. That's not him. That Michael Tellinger is not that guy, but he does They study it. They got a lot of useful information.
Magnets and cone there, and this is the technology they used to manipulate humanity. Cone-shaped tools and ancient technology. Once I started studying this, it blew my mind. It is a completely misunderstood and ignored part of ancient civilization. Cones in all ancient cultures, in South Africa, in England, in Egypt, cones everywhere. In Australia, this Mayan deity is holding 2 cones. The importance
I'm pretty sure this is a video about cones.
of holding 2 cones is
Oh,
really
yeah.
critical. I'll explain to you why I believe that is so. This guy's healing, this is a Sumerian statue, healing somebody with cone-shaped tools, cone-shaped hats used in special ceremonies. Wizards wear cone-shaped hats, and their wands are cone-shaped. And then obviously the cones of these ancient beings that were doing something to us, or humans. Those are not blood vessels in the dragon.
This needs you to sit up, lean forward,
And
listen.
vibrate.
They can't help but vibrate. But that's a good one, RJ.
Dragonfly. Those are hollow tubes, and the dragonfly doesn't flap its wings like a bird, it vibrates them and buzzes them. It's the buzzing of those wings, the sound of those wings that goes into the tubes, the hollow tubes, and at the bottom of those hollow tubes there are hundreds of tiny little cones. So the sound frequency goes out of the cones, creating these toroidal fields around the dragonfly's wings, putting them into a state of gravity-free zone around them because of the cone.
I thought everything's gravity free.
No, RJ, we have to pay you now, Alamosa. It's like gasoline. It fluctuates.
Their wings. It is the most powerful antenna ever built, thousands and thousands of times stronger than any antenna before, and it can both send and receive cones on a metal plate. Pay
Hey,
attention to that structure.
every other
Can you
radio
see the
frequency.
similarity between the bugs?
Yeah, that's just crazy. There's those wings things. That's just a minor detail for God on something that
It's a lot of detail, though.
there's a lot of detail.
Wings and that antenna, and the plot
Those
thickens.
feathers aren't cool, aren't they?
Everything that we do in science, technology, in development, it's all just mimicking nature, biomimicry.
Sound levitates. All ancient cultures
Dude,
talk about
that's cool,
levitating
too.
things with
And
sound.
that kind of correlates with the statement of that other video where he was saying about nature, finding
The
far as
Fibonacci
the-
sequence and all of the sacred geometry in nature.
that
What is
that-
going on here? Boy, they could-
Thought. Now we hear about it all the time, but until you see something being
We're gonna look
levitated
at
by
this for a
sound,
little bit,
it's
because you
difficult to
talk about the
comprehend.
eyeball
Here's
and
a
I'll let it
beautiful
go.
example. Most of the stuff exists on
this
YouTube.
toroidal field. And this is all going to tie into what, eventually I'm going to wear the people down, tonight when we're going to talk about the year 1711 and stuff. It's just going to be, we'll still be here waiting for you to give up on the rapture, and we'll still be believing this. But this stuff, we teach it. You got to refresh everybody's memory all the time, RJ. That's, what the
Yeah.
three, it used to be when they were educating the people. This is a joke. So it used to be when they were educating the people, they were the 3 R's. You want to name them off for us,
you
RJ?
mean normalizing,
Yeah, when they were normalizing.
reading, 3 R's reading. I think they
Writing
called it
and arithmetic with an R. Reading,
Yeah.
writing, and arithmetic. So none of them really have, But anyway, the true 3 R's of our modern generation, and you can ask Marcella, redundancy, reiteration, and repetition. That's how they advertise today. How many
Yeah.
times have you heard McDonald's tell you need a break? A lot.
Time out.
Time out. Here's this verse I want them to keep in mind, you Taurus people. Then Jacob took fresh sticks of poplar and almond and plane trees and peeled white streaks in them, exposing the white of the sticks. And I'll be doggone if it's been a couple of years now, but if I don't remember that somewhere about these poplar branches, one of them, it had rods and cones, the strips, and the way he exposed them, he peeled the stripes. Something was going on, man. It's a cone thing. It is. This has something to do with. It's not like straight up like black magic, or weird stuff where Jacob did this or that. It was something where a certain woods and a certain mixture in a certain way provide the vibration that well, these sheep are going to be spotted, and I think that means like striped or just multicolored sheep. Back to the video, unless you want to add anything, RJ.
Well, this reminds me of a video that I seen a day or two ago, and I should have sent it on. Maybe I'll go back and fetch it.
You did send me this.
The little ball settles down where there's a bright
No, a different
end,
one though.
and that is the high pressure
That's weird.
area.
That is weird from the top, right?
And I know it's a high
They're just
pressure.
hanging there.
You see there's a white
It
band,
appears like magic, yeah.
which
Somehow.
is where the highest pressure will be.
Everything in physics, in science, in biology, everywhere manifests in
Hey, you got
Oh,
a
toroidal.
you
Taurus
sent me
video.
that.
Everything is a toroidal field or a torus. Everything
that was
starts
cool.
out as a torus, and especially sound. Sound being
And
the
Jesus is
primordial
the sound
source
and
of
vibration.
everything.
The
It's
word.
really important for us to understand how sound manifests into toroidal fields, toruses, torus shapes like that.
Man, it's like listening in a mirror. It's exactly what we say, except we got the Christian perspective and they got this.
And this is why every time our heart beats, it creates a very powerful toroidal field around our bodies. And because sound does not stand still and sound moves, that moving sound that creates a toroidal field around our body creates a magnetic field, and that moving magnetic field creates an electromagnetic field around our bodies, all because
Look at there's the heart. And he'll catch on to the helical heart and the fact that it's not a pump. It's like a push-pull swastika, swastika siphoning. The blood is already in motion when the heart is developing. This is not figured out yet, but we have untied the Gordian knot. That's good.
of our bloody beating hearts. And then you got to ask yourself, what makes your heart beat? And doctors have no answers for that. The toroidal
that
shape of
electric.
sound. We're now starting to understand how every sound, the letters of the alphabet, the vowels, and even the consonants all have toroidal shapes. Everything manifests in a toroidal.
Man, this is some good stuff. I'm just going to, because I showed it, we got that other warning strike. And so I'm just going to show it again. Look, we're just showing his video because we're Christians and he's not. And we don't think he's using the information correctly. And this is for information purposes. So get on board, get on your knees and confess Christ.
Toroidal field. You cannot get away from it. And then the toroidal field of sound becomes a scalar weapon and turns into.
You see, it's tilted because they want you to think that's how the earth is tilted. It's just stupid.
To scalar technology, and even color manifests in toroidal shapes.
But I liked it.
Why movies are so powerful, because now you got images and the sound entering your being. We are completely brainwashed and hypnotized into a sense of hypnotic existence, believing whatever they want us to believe, whoever they are, the puppet masters. Everything is just originates in toroidal fields of
Yeah, I
resonance.
never heard that before.
And it starts with the subatomic particles like the thing of a toroidal field. So the magnetic fields of a torus actually take on a cone shape. And here's an image, cross-section of a magnetic cone. You can see the similarity. So toruses and cones are inextricable. The fields, the sound, the earth rings like a bell, right? It is
every 30 seconds, it's back to the earth, to keep
Yeah, the
that
spinny wobbly.
mind. Believe something new, but hang on to the globe earth. Fat Kenny think how new this was. I think I'm going to leave this play a little bit before because they give you kind of a, us learning about, these type of magnets, feral magnets. That was all Fat Kenny, the tattooed monkey boy, you know,
Yep.
and he was shunned by all of the scholastics for the longest time until he proved the feral cell lens, and then it's kind of you say like, okay, the tattooed monkey boy figured it out,
Beautiful toroidal shape. This is what the magnetic fields look like in toroidal fields. And I believe that these are actually what Mr. Ley found, that are now called ley lines. He
Well,
just
it's like
really discovered the
2007.
lie of the magnetic fields and the
Bring
connected
Michelle Gibson
magnetic fields
online then, huh?
on Earth, on the surface. What happens when you bring a magnet close
That's
to a ferrofluid?
cool.
Something magic. Little tiny cones pop out, and you start seeing the interconnectedness between magnets.
So there you go. People can
believe
listen to
in
this all
magic.
day.
Giant ancient trees chopped down.
And so they take it right back to where it doesn't need to go. But that's what they do. Check this one out.
Maple
Sugar.
syrup compared to honey, I mean, they're all carbohydrates, they're all sugars, but they do different things in the body. And I want to look at maple syrup specifically. If maple syrup is just pure sugar because it's dehydrated sap, then how does it respond differently in the body? You see, there's a few things that make maple syrup different from sugar. We'll talk about them vaguely, and then we'll get into the literature. Number one, if you look at maple syrup, there's different darknesses, right? There's different levels of like how dark it is. Some are very clear, some are very dark. The darker the maple syrup, the more the antioxidant content. Now, we know from other literature that antioxidants are potent when it comes down to improving insulin resistance. So right then and there, we know something's different. I would almost consider maple syrup more of a whole food, whereas sugar is just more of a like sugar, right? Additionally, maple syrup in and of itself has a lower glycemic index. We're looking at like a 54 versus a 65 compared to sugar. So already it's lower glycemic. That's not what we're here to talk about. Anyone can Google that. The next thing is the mineral content. Once again, you have 25% of your daily value of zinc in pretty much a small serving of maple syrup and like 125% of your manganese and other minerals as well. So there's definitely a mineral component. So again, full spectrum, it's more of a food. But let's look at the scientific literature. Now, after today's video, I put a link down below for Seed Daily Symbiotic. If you're trying to change your diet up, I would recommend you add a dextrose, brown rice syrup, corn syrup, and compared it to maple syrup. Okay, they found that the maple syrup had a lower blood sugar response and a lower insulin response. Okay, well, that's good news right there in and of itself. Unfortunately, that was in rodents. So let's look at some human data. Now, human data is lacking, but there is a newer study that hasn't been fully published yet. It was just announced last July. It was a 42-person crossover design trial where they gave subjects a couple tablespoons of maple syrup or a couple tablespoons of liquid sucrose.
Nice
basically
job of
liquid table
pouring
sugar.
the syrup.
And they had them do
dude.
that for 4 weeks, and then they crossed over.
Yeah.
Did it again for another 4 weeks. What they found was interesting. The group that had the maple
that's
syrup
really
both
cheesy.
ended up having a better score on their.
That's a toroidal field thing. Oh, wait, no, that's something else. That's a
They
dog.
lost me. They can't show me food like this. And all of a sudden, whatever he was saying,
Where's my coffee?
it went away. And I was just like looking to him like, wow, I would think this would be my first bite right behind this red raspberry.
The group that had the maple
Oh,
syrup
right where
in
you
both
got it.
instances ended up having a
And they
better
have antioxidants, so
tolerance test.
That's good.
I probably have not eaten a donut in 12 years
Means is
or more.
when they gave them sugar later on, they had better
Never seen
insulin
an
sensitivity,
organic
better
donut.
insulin response, better glucose uptake. They literally handled the glucose better. So what that tells us is that maple syrup is just less daunting and less throttling on the body in terms of the glycemic impact, right? So overall,
Okay, muscle boy. The last thing we want is throttling.
compound counteracts the unhealthy effects of sugar in maple syrup.
What?
Whoa. Okay, so we a lot of compounds. Not to mention, the researchers said there were quote unquote multiple other phenolic compounds, but they were in such small quantities they weren't really worth listing out. However, it is at least speculated that it's not any one particular compound that's having an impact. It's the collective nature of all these different small amounts of antioxidants and flavonols.
Huh. Anyway, the whole idea of people making fun. I mean, people made fun of vegans. I did, and that somebody made us do that. Somebody made us think that those people who think they're being so much healthier are making fun of me or think they're smarter than me, you know, and then I became one of them and being like, no, no, they're killing us with the food. But the vegans didn't tell me that. They just didn't do that. They were just vegans back then, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't important then. Now it is. Hey, Tommy.
Well, grass-fed meat is about as protein-wise good as you're going to find for ingesting.
Yeah. I had some chili yesterday. And now the idea, the timeline. This is the video. Sun and Moon Family Unit, I believe, is what they're called.
I
Sam,
thought I'd make a little post about this one that Gorgie
can you hear it, RJ?
Shepinen, whatever his name is there, has put on about the first 1712 non-existing year was added to history.
Can you understand her?
Well, yeah, you have the closed caption on, so that's beneficial to
That's
me.
one way to do it. I
always watch that way if it's a choice.
So these are the pictures for today, RJ.
Kicking up heels, cutting a rug.
So I had more than the one I showed. There's this one, Tavistock Furnishing. Now this is during a little riot when the Teddy Boys, who dressed in European style clothing and acted super polite, but the people in the war-torn Europe of especially Great Britain in the 1950s, they didn't like people dressing up in old clothes they found and acting all high and mighty when they were just broke kids in fancy clothes.
It was suspicious, yeah.
I was watching this video, and then I saw this Tavistock Furnishings, and I know that I hear you. You're always hinting, do more Tavistock stuff, do more Tavistock stuff. So I flashed it up there and say, it's on my, I got it, RJ. As soon as I can explain it, I'll tell them.
Did they have any real influence?
They have big time influence. And as a matter of fact, it is a lot like what happened at the Haight-Ashbury after, they brought out the flower power, the flower of love. They used that through 2 election cycles, and then boom, it had to go away. So they
Electric punch, right?
They Charlie Mansoned it, and next thing you know, the hippies were not cool. And they did the same thing to the Teddy Boys. They did the same thing to the Mexicans in the Zoot Suit riots, the Chicanos. A Zoot Suit riot.
Well, Zoot Suits were from the 20s during just before they pulled the rug out, the Great Depression. But
yeah, well, whatever the Zoot Suit copying is
Zoot
one
Suit
thing.
Boogie.
We're talking a Zoot Suit riots.
Well, yeah, that's.
And now I have to refresh my memory because it's not riots.
Quite as much.
Oh, it is riots. It's 1943. Mexican Marines attacked a bunch of Mexicans because they didn't like the way they were dressed in suits and thought they were looking cool. They even wrote a song about it.
Jerry Poppin' Daddies.
Throw back a bottle of beer. Shoot, shoot, riot. I blow a hole through your cold black hair. Blow, daddy.
Throw a comb through your jet black hair. Well, I did not want to close that. Here we go. So,
Yeah, it sounded like a party tune in a way.
yeah, it's a party tune. It's celebrating a riot where a bunch of United States Marines beat up Mexicans because they were dressed better. Firstly, 1712, non existing year, were added to history part 4 from Gregory Shepetin-Levesky. Before I start with the short list of the past 1,000 years, two timeline chronology, I will first present how they firstly added 1712 non-existing years to true history chronology. Now, what they added is controversial, but I believe that right now we're 1,315 years after Jesus Christ, because we're going to 1,335 years. So it's like 13 and a half. It's 22
You're
more years, whatever.
saying
20
you're
sometime
saying
around 2036. Go ahead.
Day of the Lord?
Yeah. That's
Ish?
that's the countdown to the great white throne.
Yeah, from like
2036.
from the year of what they call 70 AD ish.
Yeah, whatever they call that. So it's just so that you people going forward, they're talking about, we don't agree with any of their years. We only argue and have for some time that
Yeah.
if you take the most important date in history, 9/11, 2001, based the prophecy of Daniel on it, that how long it's sealed up until the 1,290 days. Blessed are those who make the 1335. After that, Daniel, you will stand in judgment with everyone else. Well, that is the second resurrection. The people who didn't die or be beheaded for the name of Jesus Christ or didn't take the mark. If you take the 1,000 years and just remove it, because it's canceled if you do math by the 1,000 years that Satan's in the pit. That's the same 1,000 years of the 1,000-year reign of Christ, where he ruled them
Millennial
with a
reign.
rod of iron. So you take them away, you're left with the 335. There's a certain portion of history where it's the very end time, and you have to make it another 45 years. You've gone the 1,290. That's the only clues that we get. And then there's 45 more years. You go back from September 11th, 2001, you end up at 711, 1,711, 1,711, as they would call it. That has led the Holy Spirit to convince me. I retired at 54, and I have spent everything proving that the rocks are crying out and that Jesus teaches that this season, the deception is now. We live in that section. Now that's taught on every continent with Anunnakis and everything else in the mix. Good. Here's what I believe. That's the time. That's the time. So it goes back to 1711. It is good to see somebody else put out a video that does that. I've read Ferminko, I've read Heber Iliag, and they're both confusing as all get out. But, them, Isaac Newton, and a lot of other people have proven they've messed with the chronology. We don't know what year it is. Go ahead, RJ.
Well, yeah, that's not new news to us or probably anyone watching, that's been following you, or but it's refreshing, encouraging to have someone send you something. And I don't know how recent this video was put out, but
I think it was today.
it looks like it has some information that's worth taking a second look at.
So it was 80. And this group, this and here she is. I'm not making fun of her voice.
Part 4. Before I start with the short list of past 1,000 timeline chronology,
It's just that I think that the Lord has, you know, I'm the Lord's reader. He likes he if you could see how he likes to scruff me on the head, he's it's all good. I sorry. It's almost like being a favorite. Firstly, we got all that. All the history books which exist in the education system are written by the artificial intelligence in the 1800s. Okay, so we could take that with a grain of salt. In the German Nordic Institute, we could look that up later if we want to, or somebody else could. So everything from 1900 AD and back into the history, there is not a single original document, manuscript, or book. They firstly added 1,712 non-existing years to the timeline chronology. I found out about this German Nordic Institute from Macedonian historian, scientist, researcher, publicist by the name of Dr. Petar Popovetsky, when in his in-depth research of world history found a lot of inconsistencies with fake history German Nordic Institute promoted and written about it. Firstly, 1,152 non-existing years were added to timeline chronology of history between years 1 AD and 1,152. Okay. Anatoly Fomenko discovered 1,152 non-existing years added to history from the time when Jesus was born until 1152 AD. A person by the name of Joseph Scaliger, who was a French Jesuit monk who created what we know as 0 AD, the birth of Christ. And 33 years later, Christ was crucified. So that sets the timeline we still do to this day follow. We still to this day follow. That was even better. So everyone looks at 0, which is really does not exist. There's no such thing as a number 0. Point me to the number 0. No, there is. Show me 0 pieces of cake. That's a good one. So everyone looks at 0 and goes back, but in reality, this scientist and a mathematician from Russia by the name of Fomenko has written 7 volumes, which you could say I've looked through 3, and it just gets more and more confusing as you go. But he's definitely onto something. He uses astronomy and astronomical forensics that 1,152 non-existing years were added to history's chronology. According to the Star of Bethlehem, where it was in the sky at the time, he could reverse engineer with an algorithm and with the software in the 1970s, because that's when this came out. He used the same knowledge of today to actually backdate and calculate that at the point what we know of a 0 AD. It was actually in 1152. It was 1152 when the Star of Bethlehem was in the location of the sky. Wow. Secondly, another 263 non-existing years were added to the true timeline chronology of history, pushing it back to 796 AD. Dr. Hans-Ulrich Nemitz wrote, between 1152 AD and 1500 AD, historians count approximately 263 years too many in their chronology. Thirdly, another 297 non-existing years were added to this true timeline chronology of history between the period of 1500 AD and 1900 AD in order to create the so-called early Middle Ages, which in reality never existed. Why do they have to complicate it so much? It's just like, can't they just go, it's all fake?
Well, it's all part of Satan's, deception of.
According to Harry Burt Iliad, and it's no wonder I've struggled with his name for a decade now. The Gregorian calendar is a lie. Well, I must have learned that from him and about the 1,000 other scholars that all go like, "What's with this Gregorian calendar? It's a lie." Eventually, you just agree with it. You go along. It must be a lie because, yeah, it seems like a lie. As
Well, yeah,
recently,
it's not real. So
as recently as 1990, and RJ was still in double digits at that point. He hadn't hit the 100 mark. Claims there was a conspiracy back in time by 3 world rulers who got together and changed the calendar, adding to it 297 non-existing years. That away, Heribert. Further claims that the trio altered existing documents and created fraudulent historical events and peoples in order to back themselves up. He claims that fake Holy Roman Emperor Charlemagne was not, in fact, a real ruler. I simply believe that too. But he was simply a King Arthur type legend. Probably they're probably reading the legends about you when you were young, because you were a handful when you were young back then.
oh
And
yeah.
they could have been confusing it. He explains that through all of his tampering and forgery, through all the tampering and forgery, and extra 300 years were added to history. Heribert says that an inadequate system of dating medieval artifacts, as well as an over reliance on written history due to those faking monks, are to blame. According to his research, the years between 614 and 911 AD do not quite add up. The years prior, bing, the bang, the boom. Let's pick it up where it says Herbert Ilbig was not alone in this claim. Dr. Hans Ulrich Nimitz, so we'll look for that. Published a paper in 1995 titled, "Did the Early Middle Ages Really Exist?" Dr. Hans Nimitz concluded that early Middle Ages never existed, but it is a fictional fabrication. Now hold on to your hats, of events and people to fill in that period of non-existing 297 years. Jesus Christ was born in 1712. Wow. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I like their theory, but yeah, some of their
Right. Yeah. We
dates
like that
are
they agree that history's been messed with,
there's
and that
plenty
for
of fake
Mako and
deception.
yeah, and all of these other talented chronographers that are in exposing the conspiracy. Well, RJ, they missed it by a year. That's intriguing, but all of these little breaks and things, it's just, we got the Daniel's prophecy, and it pretty much just breaks it down. No, 290, then another 45. Boom, you're done. They're hopping all over
Yeah,
to try to fill in the
yeah, they
blank.
popped into a couple too many rabbit holes with their
Yeah, but bear with it a little bit more.
timeline.
These
But
17, 12 non-existing years are taken away. It's only logical to conclude that Jesus Christ was born. Wow. 1,712, only 312 years ago from today.
wrong again.
Not far off though. Not far off
Well,
though. If you take that from 9/11 and go back, what did I just say it was? We're going to the year 335. So they didn't miss it by much, because we don't know, written from today's 2024. So they only are missing it by 10 years. Inadvertently, they almost hit the nail on the head that it should go back to 1711. And if Christ was, in that area, he only lived 30, 33 years. And then the 1,000-year, there was the 40 years or so of that generation to spread the gospel. So it's not.
well, yeah, 35 and 35 to 70. So
It's
yeah,
intriguing. Yeah, it's intriguing how they got to 1712. And I know that
it
the way the
looks
spirit must have
confusing.
told it. I could
How they
just I know Victoria is for a while now, and I can just imagine her saying, "No way, I don't send this to Paco." And she probably thought he's going to talk about it tonight. I'll bet, because
Yeah.
you
Because
know,
really,
we got the same date. I think we've got a better argument.
well,
They
yeah,
have
but
messed up history. We can all agree. Go ahead, RJ. That's where we're going to start out.
well, it'd be like let's see, uh, Christ should, not being born. Well, yeah, I guess you can use that, but really, 1290 from the year out what we're using our calendar as 2001, September 11, 2001, should get you back around 70 AD in my mind.
Huh. Okay. Well, we'll have to look at it because did the time start at the abomination of desolation? I think that could be very well implied
Well, I
based
think
on
it started,
the fact.
when Jesus
Well,
returned.
yeah, well, and he returned when he said that you
When
start the clock
at
on
his
the
at his trial,
1,390 years. Please,
when he told the
please let me
the
finish this thought. You started at the time that the abomination of desolation is taken away because there's no more daily sacrifice. That has to be 70 AD.
well,
It's
I'm
not
saying
counting.
anybody in their
You
right
can't
mind,
you
if they're
can't
going to start a
count.
calendar with an I or a J, that would be when he returned, the year of the Lord. In my mind, this is my mind. You don't have to agree with me.
No, I do agree with you. They don't have to agree with you. But we all agree. I'm going to pick up the second paragraph now. They have messed up the history on purpose and its chronology so
Yeah.
much that even today, religious officials are neck and neck with disagreements because there is not a single historical document which is older than 200 years for anyone to read and consult. It would be good to mention here that before the creation of the traditional chronology, there were about 200 plus dates who wanted to adapt history to the biblical concept. The age difference was really impressive. The period from creation to Jesus Christ was in the interval between 3,483 and 6,984 years, more than 3,500 difference. I don't know. Okay. What they did was they took names and events from the old world Macedonian history and invented a lot of fictional stories which never existed to create fake narrative of events and names and published it in millions of fake history books with millions of fake globes in which the New World Order education system normalized our children, brainwashed them into loving Snickers bars and Pokemon.
Voila.
AI bot utilizes natural language processing, NLP algorithms, and machine learning models to analyze vast amounts of data, including text, articles, and documents. Through this analysis, the AI writer learns the pattern, syntax, and context of human language and writes what you have asked to write. They extend the history first by 1,712 years by copying history from country to country. They changed the names and dates of places and characters, but used the same history with a few changed details here and there as different non existing nations and events were being artificially created. That is what all of us who are putting out years and dates, and nobody has done it longer because the Lord showed it to Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age past first, and that is an awesome responsibility to live up to. So everybody knows they did this. So true history is hidden, encoded patterns in books that AI was instructed to write. And when they read these books today, they can consult the coded guidelines to decode it by processing it through a computer, and the computer will write for them the true history of the world, which to the ordinary reader who does not have access to this software technology for decoding will have false narrative, and then they'll be lied to. Boom, de boom, decode. Remember what Terence Kemp McKenna said, the man who, for the CIA, passed out LSD on the school bus trip, invented the tie-dye t-shirt. That guy, he was an ethnobotanist and a mystic. The real secret of magic is that the world is made of words, and that if you know the words that the world is made of, you can uncover the mystery of the world. See, if it's just like
What a
they
world! What a world!
what a world. It's like the people who claim, one of my pet peeves is the people who
Another one?
the Yahudi, the Yahudi Yaheder, that if you don't pronounce Jesus'
Don't
name
you know? Hey,
correctly, you're going to hell. It's Yahweh. And they go, it's not Yahweh, it's Yahweh, it's Yahweh, it's Yehovah, it's Yahweh, it's Yahudi. I've heard them arguing about everything.
the wing.
So there we go. And so I'm all caught up in school. We're all caught up. We have art. I got another little grinder in today. Again, your package. You got the world clock today. Now that's an awesome responsibility too, to be in charge of the world clock. I know that you
Well,
have
where
a
does the
fat.
battery go?
I have
Yeah.
no idea, RJ.
Uh,
I saw it
it's
say.
all
All I
They
said
turn.
is the for sale on it said that you control the world clock, and I know the person that should be in charge of the world clock is you. So anyway, you can program it, name it, anything
Well,
you
it
want.
sounds like a time bomb. If you only
It's
really
not a bomb.
a
It's a
time bomb. It's going to go off in 2046.
it actually is one of those things for the recognized world of geocaches, of where there's known points around the world, and they have different games, and they say we can find this point, that, and then you buy them. And then they had one called the world
I was
clock.
surprised. I was surprised there's no destructions in it. It's just there it is in the bag and the protection,
Yeah, I
but
guess you got to.
no destructions.
No, the people that are into that already know how to do it. So tomorrow I'm going to a premiere of a play by a man named Nathan Pooler. He's written and directed a play here at Adams State. It's part of his senior project to graduate. And we've had a few classes together, and he's going to look at my book because he's looking for something else. I said, I got a book about people coming out of caves, surviving a virus, and being passed on information, about how to rebuild society. And then they get into a religious war. It's just like what's going on today. And I told him about the mud flood movement and everything. And he was interested. He's going like, I'll look at it. And I said, if you will do it for, while you're in school now, not promise me later, you can have all the rights to whatever you do. And I said, when I wrote it in 2008, which is part of why, just more of the convincing things of God had this plan the whole time. In 2008, I wrote a book about a virus that destroyed. Un momento. I wonder how long it would take for me to, if I could just. Some people have seen it, other people may not have seen it. Let me get just 1 second. But they survived a virus. They have remnants. They have true believers. And I think it's a super cool, fun book.
And if the novel was hard copied in a paperback, I mean it wouldn't be quite this thick,
Right.
huh?
I used to be having a little bit of trouble here. Of finding a way to have it popped up here. Am I even on Alamosa? What in the world?
Well, you're not sharing,
I
so
know. I'm
maybe
glad I'm not.
yeah. Yeah. You don't have to get into the 18 and older site type thing.
So you talk about frustrating that you have a book and you can't even get to it. I don't have a hard copy of it, but somehow it's one of those things where the Lord has, there are some people that read it, and I can never remember the damn title of it. And unless you type it in almost exactly, they're not going to give it to you, even if you've been there before. I don't care what you people think you're going through about frustration. This is a judgment. And I'm here to warn you that you're going to be judged. And if your mind's not, it's only going to happen to somebody else. It's not. It's going to happen to you. The guy that wrote this book that says that the far left for years has been wishing humans would stop hurting the earth. Some have even dreamed and longed for a way to get rid of most humans on our planet. This is a story of a people who have no past. All they, in quotes, know is that possibly a virus killed over 99.7% of the people alive at the end of the 21st century. The book is fast-paced, full of beautiful and handsome characters, because that's all they saved when they were doing their Noah's Ark to put them in the cave back then. You see, whoever was responsible for the purge had to make sure that some people survived. They chose carefully. That's why everyone is smart, very attractive, and genetically fit. So how do a television star and his rich father, along with an up-and-coming rock and roll band, save the struggling country of new United States? It talks about re-wave lasers. I go into things in this book that
So did you meet the illustrator that Ellen, that did
that's not his real name. That's just some kid. I went down to the art studio in Lake Zurich. That it's like Austin. It's like Asheville. I went down there. I said, "Read this book and draw a picture, and I'll give you $300." That's how I did things back then. So he read the book.
Oh, really?
He drew the pictures. The kid's name's Carl something. I just called him Scavenger Hunt because he never told me. I never really got his last name. He just took the money.
You got the pictures. He took the cash.
He gave me the money. Right, $300 seemed like a bargain.
That's synergy, win-win. Yeah, okay.
So there it is.
I mean,
there are things in that book that I mentioned about the re-wave laser with its 153 is all built around speculation on the double slit theory that wasn't proven until 2017. And like I said, this book was written in 2008. While I was just going to church and I was still working. I wasn't retired yet. I was only 50 or something, or 45. I don't know. 2008. I retired in 2012.
So you hammered this out over a summer, or
No, I wrote it in a couple of months. I just wrote it. I didn't have a schedule. I wrote it while I was at work. I mean, as long as everything was getting done, I'm like a fireman, man. I'm waiting on the call. There's an emergency. In the meantime, you don't fire the fireman because there's no fire that day. So I wrote a book.
Yeah.
And
you stayed busy.
That's what you got. Yeah. And it was fun, and I cried a couple of times during it. It's got some sad parts, you know. But anyway, the Lord will get it out there when He wants to get it out there. In the meantime, tomorrow's a big day for me. We're going to take some mushrooms, go to a grand opening for my, a friend I've only known for a year, since however long I've been here. I call him
Yeah.
Conan, and I made him promise to kill me last when he takes over the world. He's that kind of guy. Like, I dress like a religious prophet. He dresses like what do they call those guys? The fake Middle Ages, a knight. He dresses like a knight when he's not wearing armor. You know, he wears shin pads and boots that are up to his leg, and he doesn't wear real clothes. He wears medieval clothes, and stuff
A
like that.
costume.
Yeah,
A
he wears a
costume.
costume every day, where I don't feel like I'm
Yeah.
in a costume. My jewelry and stuff is my medicine. Every one of these things helps my blood flow. The magnets, these are magnets in copper, and these beads prevent negative thoughts. It's all crystals and vibrations for me, man. Anyway, anything you want to add? I'm out of here. Sergio, if you want to stick around and pop on that link, we have a couple of minutes. So anything you want to close with, brother?
Yeah, I get nothing on top of my melon, like I say, stay
But
safe.
tomorrow, look for a
Stay
show
informed.
maybe in the morning, and then I think RJ and I will be able to maybe hook up sometime in the afternoon. But don't look for anything tomorrow night. I'm going to be at the activity described before.
So how many shows? Just a grand opening. The first show is
Yeah,
tomorrow.
they did last night.
Oh,
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4-night run. Even the students, even I have to pay $13 to go see it.
no,
Students
yeah.
don't get in free. This is a big deal. It's a big deal. So this
Yeah.
will be exciting. It's a flat Earth nation. The golden age is past. Why? Because the mud flood was Armageddon. Then after that, 1,000 years, there was a reaping, leaving us with nothing, and here we go. Don't let them tell you anything else. Me and my friends would never. We're determined. We have your best interest in the heart. We're trying to prove it. We have your best interest at heart, trying to prove it. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. And
Good
Naka
James.
May.